Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to refinish an old oak table and teaching you how I gray washed as well as whitewashed the table all in one. So there's the before and after photos, and what we did was we sanded it down first just to get rid of all the old stain that was on it and clean it up. After you're done sanding your furniture, just make sure to wipe it up. Use a wet cloth after all the sanding is done so you can clean off whatever is left. And then I just started by priming the whole thing. And I primed it multiple times, 2 times for sure. This is after the first time, just to see how thin it is. So after we primed it, we did sand it down just to make sure we got rid of all the drip marks and wherever the excess paint hardened. And then we went over it with chalk paint. So we just used a basic white chalk paint for this, but you want to make sure that you use the primer beforehand, because otherwise, oftentimes I've noticed that I can see through the chalk paint and then you have to put multiple layers. So the primer just helps with that. Alright, and now we're going to get started on the top. As you can see, this had beautiful wood underneath all that old paint and stain. So that's why we thought it would be a great idea to wash it with gray and white. So what you do to wash your furniture is take the chalk paint and make sure your wood is very wet. So you want to keep a spray bottle beside you so you can spray it as you go, like we're doing here. Make sure your paintbrush is really wet, and we also had our chalk paint watered down for this. So just make sure it's not too thick, because chalk paint is always very thick. So while you're doing this technique, just continue to add water, making sure your paint spreads nicely. You want it to be super thin and go on very easily. So we just kept adding water until it spread out evenly and nicely. So we let that dry for a couple minutes, and then you want to wipe it off. We had a wet cloth. It wasn't really wet, it was more damp. But it does work better if you have a little bit more water on your cloth like we did. And you gotta put some muscle into this to really scrape off that chalk paint. So you don't want it to be painted, you just want it to look like it has seeped into the wood. Okay, so now we're just doing the same thing on the other side, and this side you can see we have a lot more water and it's going on nicer, so it should look thin like this. Okay, and as you can see, when we wipe it off on this side, it's coming off a lot easier. And that's because the cloth was way wetter. So I would suggest you make it very wet because it just makes the process a lot easier. Now you can really see that wood starting to show through the gray here. And that's the look we're really going for. The goal is to get the color to seep in to the wood so you can still keep that design. Okay, now we start on the whitewash. So this is after you've done the gray on your whole piece, and it's the same process, just putting it on and making sure it's super wet, and then letting it dry for a couple of minutes and wiping it off with a damp cloth. And that's pretty much the whole process of washing your furniture. Now we just go around the outside and added some white accents and gray. So here's what it looks like before we waxed it. You can see a lot of the gray and the white as well as the brown wood showing through. Okay, so for waxing we use the Valspar sealing wax. And I just use a sponge to do this. I tried to go with the grain, and don't rub too hard because sometimes it will rub the paint right off. And I just waxed the base with the same stuff, but this time I switched to a shirt because the sponge was kind of falling apart and you could see the blue on the white. So yeah, I found this worked a lot better. So here's the finished product. You can still see the wax is a little bit wet on there, but those marks, they go away after it dries. I love how this piece turned out. You can see the gray, the white, and the wood all in it. And it's probably one of my favorite pieces yet. So try it out and let me know how it goes for you. If you liked our video, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks.